Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where today I'm going to be talking to you about the week that was in pro wrestling. So that's going to be NWA Power, Part 2 of NWA 77 tapings, and AEW Dynamite. Sorry, no Collision this week. I meant to watch it, but MLB World Series went to 7 games, so I ended up watching that instead. So, we're going to get through these two as quickly as possible with starting off with NWA 77 Part 2. We start off with a very interesting matchup. It is a King B match. Now, what that means is it is a 3-on-3 trios match. The winning team then moves on to a triple threat match. I was going to assume later on in the evening, but it's like immediately after. So, and the winner gets a future shot at the junior heavyweight title. So, yeah, definitely going to be interesting. Our combatants. We have the Lost, which is Crazy Steve, who I completely forgot was in the NWA. Lev, making a comeback. I don't think he's been seen for a while. And Alex Misery, taking on Damian Fenrir, who has been a little bit more regular. Slade, but no, what's his manager's name? I forget his manager's name. The little dude. And then Curtis, who I think is relatively new. I think he's been on the losing side on some matches. Overall, they did get a lot into this match, but it did feel a bit rushed, with everyone tagging in and out for like a good while after. But after a Slade Slam, your winners are Slade, Fenrir, and Curtis. So they're gonna hook up right after this commercial break, which includes a promo from Austin Idol, who announces the Idol Cup, which is, I thought he said it was a tournament, but apparently it's going to be a battle royal to find a new contender to the national heavyweight title. So, yeah, that could be very interesting. That's going to happen this week on Power, so that should be fun to watch. Then we get the start of a Carson Drake promo. Then his phone rings. He picks it up, says, "Hi, Aunt Linda." And I'm thinking, is he related to the McMahons? So he has a little chat with her. Obviously, we don't have the other side. But apparently, he has a cousin that wants to get into the business. So Drake says, "Look, the Austin Idol's got a thing next week. I can get him a spot in there, but I don't know if he's going to win, so there's no promises." So, okay. Say hi to Uncle Vince for me. Okay, honestly, that's... So, looks like Carson Drake's family members are coming around to the NWA, which is... That's going to be interesting. But the references to the WWE, I think that's even more interesting. I think it's kind of parody, but it's also kind of funny. I like stuff like that. It's kind of poking the bear a little bit. Anyway, now we go into our next match, and it's the number 1 contenders match for the junior heavyweight title. So we got Slade, Damian Fenrir, and Curtis. Sorry, I do not remember his last name. They start off by pushing each other, and then they just they have a really entertaining matchup. But I'm going to say this, the crowd is not into it. Like, you can tell, like, they're however many hours into a taping, and you can tell they're just exhausted. Anyway, one point it's just Fenrir and Slade in there, and they have a really good connection, especially after an attempted Slade Slam, but that gets blocked into a roll through, in which Slade locks in the Slade lock. Then Curtis comes in, locks in a sleeper on Slade. Fenrir eventually gets out of the Slade lock, goes up top, hits a big old frog splash on both men, hits a power bomb to pick up the win and become the new number one contender. I'm not sure when he's getting that shot, but that was a very entertaining triple threat. Post-match, we get Slade. He gets up, gets right into the face of Fenrir. So I guess those guys are going to be having a rivalry for a little while. So then we get a recap from the promos from Kerry Morton and Alex Hammerstone from the previous weeks. So definitely setting up that match, which stay tuned for that one. Then we go back to Kenzie Page's home, where we got the interviewer there, we got the camera, and Kenzie is just laying into her family. And apparently she's accusing Kylie of trying to steal her man, which is very interesting. So she's telling Kylie, alright, tell them what you told us. So, interview goes on with Hunter Drake and Kylie Page. With Hunter saying, oh, there's really nothing going on with Kylie. She's my sister-in-law. I'm engaged to Kenzie, blah, blah, blah. And then Kylie's like, look, I can't sit out in the pool with my brother-in-law. And the interviewer gets to accusing of something. Very adult. With Kylie responding, look, I'm not 10 anymore. I'm 21. I have my own man. There's zero romantic interest between us. And that's that. So, hard cut. There may be some more to this coming. But I tell you, I missed, like, the romantic side when this angle first got started. Like, I do remember it. I remember them sitting in the pool together. Maybe they were touching each other somehow. Maybe I gotta go back and look, because I don't remember. Anyway, then we get a promo from Pastor CeeLo, EC3, and Pretty Boy Smooth. I forgot that name. I apologize. Basically saying, while these our upcoming opponents are demons, we're going to show everyone why the Holy Grail is putting everyone on notice. Short, sweet, to the point promo from this crew. And the Holy Grail, that's definitely an awesome name. Although I kind of wish it was for a band than a wrestling group. Then we come to, honestly, the best match of the week. We got Kerry Morton taking on Alex Hammerstone. And right as Hammerstone's posing before the bell, Kerry Morton attacks him from behind. Eventually, Hammerstone does overpower Kerry Morton a lot. attempts the Nightmare Pendulum, but Kerry gets out of it, hitting an Eat Defeat, which apparently the announcers called Meat Defeat, which, I don't know, just call it Eat Defeat. It sounds better. For a big old 2 count. Hammerstone then goes back to completely overpowering Kerry. Attempts another Nightmare Pendulum that gets blocked into a roll-up for a 2 count. Then Kerry, with a big elbow strike, knocks Hammerstone a little loopy. Then we see Kerry calling for someone in the back. They never come. He's trying to call out for his boys of the Southern Six. But they don't come. Then Kerry turns around, hits a Kiss It Goodbye. Attempts the Kiss It Goodbye. Hammerstone moves. Hits the Nightmare Pendulum to pick up the win. And honestly, I am here for a fun Alex Hammerstone run in NWA. Maybe eventually get into the world title, which honestly, the more I think about it, Latimer versus Hammerstone, kind of a dream match. Although, have they faced each other in other places? I don't think they have. But, yeah, this was a really, really good match. Really good dynamic between the big man and the little guy. And, yeah, now we got some more seeds planted for the breakup of the Southern Six. Anyway, then we go backstage to an Aaron Stevens promo, which I haven't seen enough of this guy, where he basically says, poor decisions make poor people. Now you're in the ring with the best, and that is what world is going to see. So, yeah, nice, short, sweet, to the point with, you know, that main event is going to happen. Hold on a second. Then we see Brian Idol and Natalia Markova. They're out on whatever boardwalk that is. Unless it's like Staten Island somewhere or Coney Island, I have no idea where that is. Because this show was filmed in Huntington. So, yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that boardwalk before. Anyway, so I had always kind of hyping up Markova for a rematch with Kenzie. With Markova saying, look, I know all of her tricks. I know what she's got. I got this. And then I was like, alright, don't let this opportunity pass by because you don't get chances like this every day. At that point, we see Tiffany Nieves and I want to call him Vincent, the therapist or whatever his thing is. They're passing her. Tiffany is dressed to the nines. Like, she's got a pretty dress on. Looks like she's got a little bit more makeup on. So, Idol and Markova stop them, and they kind of do a little small talk. With Idol asking, so, what are you doing here? Just like that. Are you guys on a date? And Vince is like, sure. And that kind of ends a little awkwardly. They walk off. So, definitely an interesting development. Are we about to see an on-screen relationship between Vince and Tiffany? If so, I guess we'll see. So last but most certainly not least for the NWA, we got our main event, and it's a tag team match, playa, as we got the Holy Grail, That's Pretty Boy Smooth and EC3 taking on Carson Drake, and returning to the ring, Aaron Stevens. That's right, he is back in action. Little tag match, and he's wearing his very bright pink WWE attire with the purple knee pads, and honestly, he looks great. Obviously, Carson Drake starts it off with EC3. He is trying his best to keep EC3 isolated. Eventually, Stevens does tag in, eats a big old backdrop to start it off. Stevens then rolls out, tags in Drake. EC3 tags in Pretty Boy Smooth, and Pretty Boy Smooth just completely overpowers Carson Drake for a while. At one point, we see the referee being distracted by Pastor CeeLo. We then hear Kerry sounded like he gets hit, and then he just drops. And then at that point, we go to another ad. But before that is a Kobe Carino hype video showing him all in a neck brace, somber music playing. And by the way he's talking, it sounds like Kobe might be deciding on retirement, which honestly I don't trust it. I've seen many fake out wrestling retirements before. That's probably not happening here. It's probably just set up some future match somewhere. After that, we get a very in-your-face promo from Mike Mondo saying, "Mims, I hope you trained hard. I'm in beast mode right now, and I'm taking the national heavyweight title because it's time for a new champion." Again, more quick to the point promos. But again, I'm going to say this. I'm not a fan of them doing it during a match. You need to find some time to do this other than right before going to commercial break. So then we get back in. They're going outside to in. Then CeeLo grabs Carson Drake, trips him up a little bit. Referee saw it. Throws out Pastor CeeLo. But then EC3 with a roll-up for a 2 count. Hitting some knee drops, a big splash. Aaron Stevens gets tagged in. He's starting to get back into it, hitting a DDT for a 1 count. Then we kind of see a fake tag situation go down. At least I think. It definitely looked like the ref was distracted by something, and so he didn't see the tag. Or maybe, Drake just came in, and they just start stomping on EC3. The ref then sees this, tells Carson Drake to get out of the ring. Then they tag in, Stevens and Drake tag in and out, doing some damage. Then EC3 with a big old leg sweep, an elbow drop for a 2 count. Then that brings in Smooth and Carson Drake. Pretty Boy Smooth with some shoulder tackles, a big old body slam. Goes for the choke, hits the choke slam, but Carson Drake rolls it to the outside. Hits a jawbreaker to get back in. Pretty Boy Smooth with a palm handle slam, and then a leg drop for a 2 count. Then we just see Pretty Boy Smooth stomping out Carson Drake. That's when Aaron Stevens gets into the ring. He has the loaded glove on. He loads it up. EC3 intercepts him with a cutter. hitting a pretty interesting looking dive to the outside to take him out. Pretty Boy Smooth attempts a penthouse bomb that gets blocked. Carson Drake with an eye rake. Then he puts on the glove. Hits Pretty Boy Smooth with it. No, Aaron Stevens hits Pretty Boy Smooth with the glove with the ref distracted. Carson Drake with the roll up and the win for his team. It's definitely good to see Aaron Stevens still has some skill in the ring because he was a pretty dang good wrestler in his time. I don't know if this means he's going to be coming back on the regular because he definitely had some ring rust. But overall, very entertaining tag match, which apparently was a switch up on the card because Carson Drake was meant to face... Who was he meant to face? I think he was meant to face Max the Impaler, but they had to pull out of the match due to illness, I want to say. So, yeah, definitely a nice little substitute. Although, I don't think I would put this in the main event. I think I would put this earlier, so that maybe some other matches can have some room to breathe. So, yeah, Power, this episode of Power was definitely very interesting. A lot of stories being told that I am ready to see the finale for. Or at least a continuation. So that was Power. We now go to AEW Fright Night Dynamite. Yeah, it's a kind of Halloween-themed episode. You got some pumpkins in the entranceway, and that's kind of it. Like, I was hoping, maybe not for an elaborate stage, but at least something a little bit more than that. Anyway, first match up, we got a little tag team match. We got Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin taking on Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia of the Death Riders. And almost immediately, Cassidy and Darby Allin jump to the Death Riders while they're making their entrance. And also, apparently this was Tornado Tag, so no tags necessary. And apparently this is no DQ. So, yeah, this was definitely a lot of fun. Cassidy bellowing out the DDTs. Darby Allin with a coffin drop off the top rope, only getting a 2 count. Garcia tries to lock in a sleeper. Cassidy with the orange punch and then a soul food, with Darby Allin locking in the Scorpion Deathlock to pick up the win for his team. And then post-match, we get Orange Cassidy with a bag of candy tossing it into the crowd. Overall, a very entertaining matchup. I would have liked to see, I don't know, the Death Riders involved a little bit more, but it is what it is. Then we see Hook arriving, but something very interesting behind him. We see a very familiar sight, as someone is dressed as the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And I'll tell you the significance of that a little bit later. So anyway, Hook says to the camera, I'm going to be out there with 3 former world champions, and I'm going to pull out the win. I'm going to do my best so you don't get your shot, Joe. And, yeah, nice little easy promo. Then we get a Don Callis interview, where he says, I'm going to show everyone that the Don Callis family is fine, that Takeshita and Okada are on the same Then all of a sudden you see a dejected looking Young Bucks walk in with Callis saying, "Oh, here's potential future members of the Callis family. I'm going to tell you guys, it is criminal how you're being treated right now. So why don't you take a minute, think about my proposal of having a family at your back as I give you a little taste." So Callis grabs the microphone from the interviewer's hands. Young Bucks make their entrance, and it's their full entrance, although with a lot of extra pyro. And Don Callis, who is still behind them on the Titantron, introducing them, which is honestly hilarious. That leads us to our next matchup, as it's a fatal 4-way for the next shot at the AEW Tag Team titles. Obviously, we got the Young Bucks. We got Jurassic Express. That's Jungle Jack Perry and Luchasaurus. Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler of FTR. And Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey of Jet Speed. And this was just a completely off-the-walls, fun tag team matchup. And we definitely saw Young Bucks trying to team with FTR. They did go for it for a little bit, but eventually FTR did turn on the Bucks. Jurassic Express tried for the Extinction event. That gets blocked. Jack Perry low bridges FTR. Tries to hit the Doomsday device. That gets blocked. Kevin Knight with a big old DDT. Mike Bailey with a drop kick. And then a moonsault for a 2 count. And at one point we see the Young Bucks attempt the Shatter Machine. No, they hit the Shatter Machine. And then along with FTR, hit a 4-way PTE trigger. Young Bucks attempts the TK driver. That gets blocked. Luchasaurus with choke slams for all. And then we see Jet Speed and Jack Perry go up, hit their moonsaults. Luchasaurus with a big old moonsault himself in the ring. Kevin Knight with the UFO splash. But then as that's happening, FTR get in the ring, hit the Shatter Machine for the win. And honestly, this was all kinds of chaos. I loved every single second. And honestly, I'm going to say this. This was the right team to push. As much as I liked Jurassic Express and Jet Speed, I think FTR and Brodito are going to have a hell of a bout. Then we get a little recap of the promo of Hangman calling out Samoa Joe on Collision last week, which was... Honestly, it's time to stop underestimating Hangman Adam Page's promo ability. He's great. And then we get this weirdness, as it's the Don Callis Family Summit. So we have pretty much all of the Callis underlings coming out. Kyle Fletcher, Henchizero, Josh Alexander, Lance Archer, Rocky Romero, Trent Beretta. I think Okada's with them. The only one missing is Takeshita. So they sit kind of, I'm going to say, conservative office style. So like there's 2 tables, about half dozen chairs. Everyone's sitting down with Don Callis up at a podium where he says, "Welcome to the Don Callis Family Summit. We're going to talk about the problems between Takeshita, who isn't here tonight due to travel issues, and Kazuchika Okada. Now, Rocky, what is the first question we asked when being initiated into the Don Callis family? Rocky answers, "Who is the Callis family? We're the biggest faction in wrestling, and to the all who couldn't be here, you are here in spirit." So then Fletcher gets up. Rocky then gets up saying, "We're about to give you a true masterpiece." So we see a, usual portrait being draped by a sheet. Rocky removes it, and it's a big old family portrait with everyone pretty much half naked, and Callis, I want to say he's fully naked, but we don't see his lower half, thank God. And everyone's swooning over it. Then we get, I want to say it was Lance Archer, but it could have been Kyle Fletcher. No, it was Trent. That's who it was. It was Trent Beretta saying, "What is the Don Callis family about? I direct your eyes to the big screen." They all turn. We see Callis family highlights from the past couple weeks, which, honestly, I'm going to say this right now. The one thing I miss about wrestling in the old days is we had action shots in their during wrestlers' entrances. I miss that shit, man. And those highlights made me miss that stuff even more. I don't care if you're WWE, TNA, NWA, whatever. Bring back action shots in wrestlers' entrances. Please. So, after the highlights, Don says, "Well, we wouldn't be gathered here today if not for this man, Kyle Fletcher." Fletcher stands up and says, "The third question is why? Why do the Callis family do what we do? And we are going to have a reminder of our oath. I," say your name, and he does actually say that, "of my own free will, obey the laws and aid of the family and aid brothers in distress." At that moment, Takeshita's music hits, and he comes out. He's holding the IWGP title, which, not gonna lie, I am starting to like more and more. So he walks with a whole lot of purpose up to the ring. Looks like Callis is elated with himself, saying to him, "Hey, you made it." Looks like he's going in for the hug. Takeshita puts his hand right in the chest of Callis. Then he looks over, sees Okada. Okada stands up. He walks, pretty much makes a beeline to get Takeshita. They have a big old face-off. So the rest of the family gets up, separates them, and Callis says, whoa, 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 okay, listen. I can see the tensions brewing right now. Takeshita, I named you the Alpha for a reason. Now we're a family of alphas. There's going to be a lot of push and pull, and that's to be desired. End of the day, this is expected. So how does the family succeed? And that's listen to what I have to say. There is no I in team, but there is I in family, which is a very good point. And we built this family on the ashes of Kenny Omega's career. And if I decide you're last out, you need to go. To put your egos aside and shake Okada's hand. This isn't about ego. This is about honor. Do this for me, please. So Takeshita extends his hand for a handshake. Okada sees this, goes to extend his hand, and instead flips off Takeshita. This gets everybody into a bit of a tizzy, and the Callis family separates the two. As it is announced, they're going to be having a tag match on Collision this week. So, yeah, that's definitely going to be a fun one. This segment went on way too freaking long. Like, I don't know how much time this segment was given, but I felt like it dragged way too damn much. So then we get highlights from Olympia, from her time in CMLL, and her limited time in AEW. Hyping up her match with Mercedes Moné on Collision, which I'm a little sad I missed. Then we get an interview with Chris Statlander. She's dressed up for Halloween as Goku Black, which is definitely a choice. I think that's going to be storyline related down the line. And she says, "Don't, Mercedes, you're upset and embarrassed. I will defend the title against you. But why wait? We are both, I know you're here tonight. I'm not going anywhere. If you have trouble finding me, I have the title you don't have." So that's a setup for something interesting going on a little later. But first, we got match 2 of a series, as we got Kyle O'Reilly taking on Jon Moxley. And, yeah, this was pretty much continuation of their last matchup. They went back and forth a whole heck of a lot. Moxley attempts the pile driver. That gets blocked. Kyle O'Reilly locks in a triangle, but Moxley gets out of it, hits a penalty kick, and then Kyle with a big clothesline. Both men are down. The ref checks on both men. It did look like Moxley had a little bit of a cut on his head, but apparently they're okay to go. Moxley attempts the Death Rider. That gets blocked into an ankle lock. Moxley almost immediately gets into the ropes. So, another point, Kyle O'Reilly goes for a basement dropkick to the outside. Marina Shafir then stands in the way of Moxley on the outside. Moxley attempts the paradigm shift. That gets blocked. Kyle locks in the guillotine. And then at that point, ding, 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 the bell rings. So we get a double count out. In post-match, the Marina and Jon Moxley are standing over Kyle O'Reilly. Marina Shafir then attacks the referee, who is Aubrey Edwards. Then Claudio comes out, beats up Kyle. The Death Riders beat on Kyle O'Reilly for a bit. Then Roderick Strong comes out, tries to make the save, but Yuta and Garcia intercept him, start the beatdown. This brings out Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, and Darby Allin to run off the Death Riders. And then Darby calls for a microphone, asked, "Where are you running? I can tell you, you haven't suffered enough, because I haven't suffered enough." This is exactly what I'm talking about. Walking around like you're fake tough guys. Actually, this is Mark Briscoe now. You're running scared because but now me and my crew came up with the perfect solution. Cassidy, why don't you announce it? Cassidy first tries to brush it off. Then Briscoe puts the microphone into Cassidy's chest. Not attacking, just like putting it there. Cassidy brings it up to his lips. Just says, "Blood and guts." Which, little Easter egg if you don't know. William Regal used to do the blood, not just the Blood and Guts announcement, but War Games announcement. And he would be very theatrical. He would be like, War Games! And I can't believe I just did that right. So then Cassidy announcing Blood and Guts, like, Blood and Guts. Like a normal talking voice. It's very on brand for Orange Cassidy, and I love it. So now, here's my issue. We got the men's announced, and the teams are there. What happened to the women's match? And I know it did get announced on Collision. Sorry I'm not covering that. But that challenge was made by Jamie Hayter like months ago. And it wasn't answered. So what I really don't know what happened there. So anyway, we go to a nice little commercial break. Come back to Chris Statlander and Mercedes Moné brawling right in gorilla position. They eventually brawl to the arena, where it looks like Chris Statlander is getting the best of Moné. Out comes Athena, who attacks Statlander from behind. Gets Statlander in the ring. Moné with a backstabber. Athena with an O-face. And then Moné locks in the Statement Maker. But as that's happening, Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron come out to make the save. And to run off the heels. So, I don't know if Willow and Statlander are going to be mending fences anytime soon. But that was pretty cool. Then we get highlights from the all-out Fatal 4-Way Tag match. Which, that was a fun match to watch. Then we get a Bandito, highlight reel / promo. Where he reveals he drove all the way to San Antonio to pick up his grandma to see him, so she can see him wrestle for the first time. And honestly, it was a nice little personal highlight of his. So I thought that was pretty good. And then we get to see someone we haven't seen in quite a while, as we see Gravity in there with them. So hopefully Gravity's doing well. I'd like to see him back on TV. Gravity is underrated. Now next up, we got our first round matchup for the AEW Women's Tag Team Title Tournament. We got the Sisters of Sin. That's Sky Blue and Julia Hart taking on Jamie Hayter and Queen Aminata. And this felt a bit rushed. Not saying bad rushed, but it definitely felt like they were just trying to get to the next thing. While I do appreciate the action between all of them, and they work really, really well, it definitely felt like the finish was a little bit rushed. So near the end, Queen Aminata has Sky Blue locked up in an arm trap. Julia Hart breaks it up, hits a reverse DDT, but then on the outside, from under the ring, Thekla, the third member of the Triangle Madness, comes out, hits a spear on Jamie Hayter on the outside. Then we get this weird, aided spinebuster from the Sisters of Sin to pick up the win, as Thekla celebrates with them on the ramp. Now, not sure what the future holds for Hayter and Aminata, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see where they go from here. Speaking of the women's tag team division, we kind of got the OG team coming out with Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. As we get revealed, Penelope Ford tore her UCL, so she is not cleared to compete, and she will not be competing in the tournament. Ford then says, when I come back, I'm going to make woman feel the pain I'm in right now. Megan Bayne then kind of takes over saying, I'm in the business of making women bow down to me. Well before Ford was in. Any woman who wants to step up and stand with a god, bring it. She kind of turns to leave. In walks Marina Shafir. They go face to face for a second, and she just says, I'm listening. Then we see Jon Moxley walk in, look at both of them, then look at the camera saying, hey. And that's kind of it. So, yeah, definitely disappointed to see Penelope Ford suffer a big injury like that. Hopefully she gets better soon. But, yeah, Shafir and Megan Bayne. That could be an interesting little combination. And then we come to our main event of the evening. And it's a fatal four-way where the winner goes to Full Gear and challenges for the world title. We got Bobby Lashley, Ricochet, Samoa Joe, and Hook. Now, I know there has been a lot of people clowning on Hook a little bit, saying, oh, what's he doing there? He doesn't deserve to be there with these greats. I don't fully agree with that. Yeah, it's definitely... I do agree on some point. Hook definitely needs a switch up of his moveset a little bit. It's still a little basic. But, yeah, these guys definitely made Hook look like $1 million. Especially Joe taking a big old spine buster. One point, Ricochet attempts the vertigo. That gets blocked into a roll-up for 2. Hook with Ricochet with a low bridge. Then a chair shot from Ricochet to Lashley. Lashley kind of shakes it off and chases Ricochet into the back, in which Samoa Joe locks in the Coquina clutch on Hook to pick up the win. So, I'm going to say this. That win was kind of obvious. They were definitely building for Joe to get another match, which I am not mad about. However, I'm going to say this. Having Joe go back-to-back definitely shows a glaring issue with AEW's main event scene. Especially with MJF off filming a movie, both Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay hurt. So they're kind of out of heel options to challenge Hangman, which is why we're getting back-to-back Samoa Joe. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Out comes Katsuyori Shibata and Will Hobbs to celebrate with Joe. And then for whatever reason, Shivani gets in the ring. Looks like he's about to interview Joe. But turns out it's a contract signing, like right afterwards. So these extras come out. They're all dressed up for Halloween. One's the staple of Marshmallow Man, one's a chicken, one's this, that, and the other. I don't remember what everyone was dressed like. So the crew's trying to set up for the contract signing. Joe kind of stops them, picks up a mic, says, well, with this, I want to ensure this is the safest environment possible for a contract signing. So Shibata just tear through the members of the ring crew as they grab the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Hobbs and Shibata are holding his arms back, kneeling in front of Joe. Joe rips off the head, unmasks him. It's not Hangman. So The ops toss him to the outside with the rest of the extras. So Joe picks the microphone back up, says, "It's clear Hangman isn't as creative as he once was. I will take his title from him and become the next champion." So at whatever point, a little bucket of beer bottle shows up in the corner. The ops grab it. They're kind of toasting each other as Tony Schiavone gets in the ring, and he's, going down, hyping up the match, I guess. Then he goes, as Samoa Joe takes on Hangman Adam Page, and this is cowboyish. At that point, Schiavone's voice changes to Hangman Adam Page. So Tony Schiavone was dressed as the Phantom of the Opera, half mask, whatever. So Hangman decided, I'm going to do the same thing and attack Joe and the Ops afterward, finishing up with a buckshot lariat. So, now the significance of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. It was 2022-ish, maybe 2023-ish, where Hangman dressed up as the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, while his former teammates in the Elite, so that's Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Adam Cole was with them. They dressed up as the Ghostbusters. And Hangman was feuding with Omega at the time over the AEW title. He then attacked them post whatever match they were in. And that was a great feud. I love that feud so much. And to see a throwback to it in the modern day, I'm going to give that a big old thumbs up. So while I did enjoy this matchup, I'm going to say this. So during the show, I was watching a live stream with Denise Salcedo and her friend, let's say. I forget his name. I'm sorry. And while we were having fun in the chat, no one was really talking about the show, which was a very interesting thing. Not to say the show isn't entertaining, but the entertainment value needs to be turned up a little bit more, Mr. Khan. All I'm going to say about that, overall, a very interesting week of pro wrestling. I assume I'm going to say this week is probably going to be even better. I'm looking forward to it. Till next time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.